ThinkBrainWave is a teacher-learner platform where teachers and learners can meet each other online or face-to-face.
With me today, I've got Roland Clavent from ThinkBrainWave, a very interesting company that I'm excited to introduce to my audience. Roland, thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thanks very much for having me, Francois.
Roland, tell us maybe the elevator pitch. What is ThinkBrainWave?
ThinkBrainWave is a teacher-learner platform where teachers and learners can meet each other online or face-to-face.
Yeah, I think that's a very important aspect. We've now realized there's a lot of pressure on the education system and people needing to go online. I mean, it's like we needed a pandemic to show us the benefits of working online. But the fact that your company and the platform that you've created also allows for face-to-face interaction, I think is really beneficial to the way forward in education. What do you think?
Indeed. You know, we've been looking at this for the last 7 to 8 years. I remember sitting in WITS when I first studied, and we calculated that something like this would happen 2020, 2021, 2022.
Yeah.
We had a crisis in 2007, 8 and 9. So 2008 was your first shock, 2009 was the second shock, which is bigger than the first two shocks summed together.
Yeah.
So what we calculated was every 7 years there's a bit of a cycle. Mathematically speaking, it's pointless going into it now, but by 2014, 15 and 16 we should have had another crisis. But because of the size of 2007, 8 and 9, it would skip a generation, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Or it'd skip a cycle. So we said, okay, something would happen in 2020, or something happen in 2021, or something happen in 22, and it would escalate accordingly for the next 3 years. And as we see, we've got coronavirus, or COVID-19, which is ravaging through our planet. And what's lovely in the sense of the word is that we've actually prepared for this. With this platform, you've got teachers that can meet their learners online. Learners can stay at home and they can isolate themselves. They can also watch video content, so teachers can record content. Mm-hmm. They place it online in a secure repository, and learners can peruse this content at any time, go through their tests, prepare for their exams, and be ready.
Yeah, because one of the issues we're going to have in the future is maybe not everybody being isolated at the same time, but if you're feeling ill, there's going to be more of a responsibility on you to rather stay at home.
Correct.
Whether you're the teacher or whether you're the learner, that doesn't really matter. When you're at home, you still want to continue your education.
Quite right.
And you don't have access to the physical classroom. And what I've seen is happening with many teachers is they're afraid of creating content for an online space. So if you have a blended approach to it, where you can actually just record the lesson that you're currently teaching in class and upload that content onto a repository,
yes,
and the learner that maybe stays home will have access to that content. Is this something that the platform does?
That's exactly what it does.
Okay.
And it's not only limited to that. We've got about 9 to 10 different phases that we're going to roll out.
Okay.
What we use is A/B testing. So we've got, let's say, 1,000 users. We'll expose 500 of users to certain new functionality. Mm-hmm. If the users give us feedback that is not positive, we don't actually use that functionality and we work on something else.
Yeah.
So there was a 5-year rollout, but this whole situation has accelerated things by at least 6 months to potentially 12 months.
All right.
So I'm not sure if you heard about the Western Cape Education Department.
Yeah.
So they're looking at some sort of contingency plan, working with ThinkBrainWave, and they're looking at the online video content, and they're saying, right, well, we need something that can take group classes, and what we currently have is a 1-to-1 ratio, right? But this is something that we can turn a switch and it'll be ready in 2-3 days. But that was not something that we wanted to just launch out to the masses, but as we can currently see, there's a demand for a many-to-one scenario where a teacher maybe sits in the classroom and teaches an entire class who's sitting in their different locations at home, but they're all tuned in at the same time.
And then, of course, you can also still have some learners in class.
Exactly.
And in the same time, the ones that are in class, and you have got the learners at home, everybody tuning in at the same time, which I think is going to be very important for the way forward. Just tell me about the current system as it is, because I know teachers, like, almost want to say from the time that I was in school, I knew teachers doing extra lessons after school, like just to supplement the income. And tutoring is a very important aspect for many teachers, especially in mathematics and physical science and stuff like that. There are tutor centers set up across the country,
across the world,
because there's a demand for extra lessons.
I don't know quite if the demand is for extra lessons. Not to be rude, Francois, but it comes down to the bell curve. And if you look at the bell curve, you've got a scenario that looks somewhat like this. If you can just trace my hand, it goes like this, it goes up, it goes like that, and it goes flat.
Yeah.
If you look in the middle, there'd be 50%. That's the kids that are just passing on the mean, right? You then come towards this side, and you're looking at 30%, the bottom of that curve, and then the line sort of flattens out.
Yes.
Anything from 30 to 0%. Now, this group of children are looking to get into that 50%, between 30 and 70%. They're looking to get there.
So just that little bit of improvement, going from a 30 to a 50.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about improvement, right? Now, these children that are sitting in the 30 to 70 region, they're looking to get from this region into the 70 to 100% region. Yeah. So they're also looking for improvement. Now, you look at the guys that are sitting, they might be also looking for maintenance, though. They're trying to just maintain their
Maintain the 50 and the 60.
Maintain that part, you see? Now, the guys that are in 70 to 100 are not looking to just maintain, they're also looking to compete.
Yeah.
Because they're competing for positions in university, perhaps. They're competing with social friend groups. Your top tenors, they all want to stay up top. So I can tell you that I had tutoring right the way through. I remember I used to go there pretty much on a daily basis for extra maths, whether it was for Afrikaans or English and science. I had a lot of extra lessons just to maintain those marks. I didn't want to drop below the 70% mark,
Yeah. So as I understand the system, that it provides an online space for teachers who would want to do these extra lessons and the extra support for tutors, as it is currently.
Well, it's changed somewhat because of this whole scenario.
Yeah.
Let me be honest with you. This thing started in 2012, and it was a pet project while I was studying engineering, and I enjoyed it, and then it started to grow. So I started to get more customers, and I started to hire some of my mates. So my girlfriend at the time was working with me, and it just became an administrative burden.
Yeah.
So how it evolved was in 2017, I started developing the software aspect, the platform, to manage it and scale it. And I just went and studied finance, thinking, okay, well, I need to understand global financials and economics, and here we are now. So for the past, let's say, 7 years, I was looking at it from a baby point of view. I was saying, right, let's look at this as a tutoring platform, as a teacher support platform. Because of this situation, well, I went to London to the BET Expo in 2020, like January now.
Yeah.
And obviously I saw it was out there, and I saw what the gaps were. And what I realized is that we need a platform that taps into the teachers and helps teachers earn more money and helps schools earn more money while benefiting the entire ecosystem. So instead of us offering just tutoring, what we're doing is we're saying that teachers all sign up, students all sign up, and they pay $1 a month.
Okay.
So instead of having little Johnny who's 1 out of 100 kids, he needs extra help, goes for an external tutor, school doesn't benefit, teacher doesn't really benefit because she doesn't get recognition or he doesn't get recognition. What we're saying is onboard all 100 learners, onboard all 5 to 10 different teachers in the school, and then say to the school, right, we would recommend that you incentivize all of your teachers to work together so that they need to do at least 2 hours of tutoring on a weekly basis. If you're looking at 5 teachers times 2 hours, that's 10 hours per week, 40 hours in a month. Now, these lessons that take place, the money gets paid a really cheap rate. I'm talking about ridiculously cheap, so that everybody in the school, if their kids sitting at 30%, they can get to 50% easily and cost effectively. So now these kids all get help. Teachers then see value. Teachers earn an extra revenue stream, not through us, but through the school, because we help the school out. We say, right, school, here's all the commissions come to you. Okay. You can use this for scholarships, you can use this for bursaries, you can use this for your facilities, and please improve your teacher salaries.
Yeah.
Because teachers are falling off.
Because at the end of the day, if the teachers are going to spend their time on improving the results of the kids, or just aiding them in learning, then of course that benefit should come back to the teacher.
They should be
and
compensated.
not necessarily just monetary, even just improving the classroom situation, building more classes so you've got less kids per class and the ratio between the teacher and the student comes down. So
That's a big issue, that.
Of course, all teachers would want more money in their pocket, but at the end of the day, if your work circumstances are improved through being part of a program such as this, it benefits you.
I like that word. Excuse my pointing, but it gets me excited. That's the whole idea. This is no longer a tutoring business. This is a program. This is something that the government should have actually thought about, I would say. Like, why didn't they not come up with something that actually helps the entire ecosystem of education? They don't have to. They've got the private enterprises to fund, I guess you could say. So luckily we've got this scenario, and we will only build on it and grow.
Yeah. No, I absolutely like this. Now, tell me, what is it that you still need for ThinkBrainWave? Who would you like to onboard, be part of this program?
That's difficult. It's a very broad question.
Yeah.
Very broad.
Let's say within the next 3 to 6 months, who would you like to onboard onto the system?
I'd like to get some ambassadors. I'd like to get people like yourself. I'd like to get backing, not necessarily financial, but government backing.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you read, but the Department of Trade and Industry, they sponsor all of my expos to go abroad and try and expand the business.
Good.
Okay, and it's not just about expanding the business, it's about learning what else is out there and bringing it back home and implementing it here. Because from a technology point of view, it's not the most difficult thing for us to implement what we see there.
Yeah. It's getting the support
exactly.
to roll out a platform such as this, because obviously there's benefit not only to the learner, but in this instance for the teacher to also upskill themselves, and the school. In essence, because the school is the microcosm of the community, it just improves the community as a whole.
Oh, get goosebumps!
Yeah.
I like it.
I like it when we have conversations like this way, because it's all about motivating, inspiring, supporting teachers. But at the end of the day, why do we want to support teachers? Is so that they can uplift the community.
Yes.
And this is my personal philosophy. Africa and a prosperous globe, empower teachers.
Empower your teachers.
Because they've got influence.
100%. If you look at a teacher and you look at a doctor, what are the differences? A doctor fixes a problem. A teacher prevents a problem from occurring.
Yeah.
I think a teacher is very, very important. They're very much undervalued in society.
Because it's not necessarily the teacher as the individual, but it's the education behind this. When people are empowered through education, they know how to prevent themselves from getting ill.
Right.
I know everybody is, and very soon everybody's going to have COVID-19 fatigue, and people wouldn't want to talk about it. But the more information that we can have, the better we can prevent future issues like this, and that'll come through education.
Well, quite right. I mean, if you look at, say, I was thinking about this a couple of days back, maybe a week ago. If you look at the Black Plague, do you not think that the population at the time would have been better off if they'd actually known about the Black Plague? You know, if they had social media, if they'd had proper means of communication,
and the scientific literacy that goes with it. So unfortunately for them, science wasn't developed into such a stage to really understand the nature of the microbiology. We are in an age where we can understand this, yet some people choose not to be scientific literate. And it's the job of the teacher to assist our learners from a young age to do that. And unfortunately, now is not the time to want to do it only in the modality of face-to-face, but to also now include online spaces to do this.
Quite right. I'd like to just throw a quick spanner in the works.
You're welcome.
What do you think about the social impacts of COVID-19? And how do you think it's going to impact our society?
Well, the major challenge, and just speaking from an education point of view, what COVID-19 is doing, number one, is it's exposing the digital divide, and it's actually increasing the digital divide, because it's the people who've got access to online platforms that now get quality education. Where in the past it was facilities and geographical issues that kept people, and political issues, of course, that keep people away from quality education. Now it's the access to the internet that's thrown on top of that, that's creating this further social divide, which we should really guard against. So I'm all for a platform such as yours, but we also need to find other modalities. Yours is one of the solutions within the ecosystem of solutions.
Should we guard against it, or should we come up with a potential solution You know, provide devices, provide internet access, provide options that are affordable. I think we're often still thinking in the Iron Age where it's all about protect our resources and kick everybody else out. Why don't we start thinking in more of utilitarian mentality and think, why don't we share our resources together? You know, you've seen this whole bog roll or toilet paper situation where folks they walk into the shop, fill their trolleys with toilet paper. Why? I mean, you're going to blow your nose or you're wiping your bottom.
Yeah.
You can easily just jump into the shower. So be respectful about our resources. Just because you can financially afford to pay for everything, you know. I'm not saying yourself, obviously. I'm just commenting on the people that are behaving in this way. And I just feel that, you know, the poor can't necessarily afford, you know, from a capital point of view, to pay for their food and buy in bulk and put it into their freezers like the wealthy can. And I think it's often the duty of the wealthy to care for the poor, because if they don't care for the poor will come after them because they'll starve, and they won't starve to death.
And we see this in history throughout many of the revolutions that occurred, and it's maybe time that we learn from this.
Thank you.
Because it's
Stop cycling.
Exactly, it's very short-sighted of us hoarding, whether it's toilet paper or whether it is access to the internet.
Yes.
But we need to understand long term that we need to grant everybody access. What they do with their access is totally up to them. I mean,
we need to train them on how to access and how to manage.
And once you've got the access, because face it, there are so many people who've got access to the internet, but rather choose to entertain themselves and surf the net and go onto social media and like booty pics. But it's what do you do with your education?
Yes.
Once you've got access, how do you upskill yourself, especially in a time like this?
Well, something I've realized over the years is the more educated you are, generally speaking, the more you want to learn, because the more you realize that you actually know nothing.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're ignorant, you generally think that you know everything. I know for a fact that when I was 18, I thought, wow, I know a lot about the world. And I walked out into the world and it gave me a running kick slap to the face, and I started learning that I need to learn. Now, this is the situation we sit with the uneducated, the illiterate. Of course, they're going to be looking at booty pics because they don't know any other.
Yeah.
You know, they think that's the way of life. They're still working on an egotistical based lifestyle.
And we want to emulate that so that we can get the admiration.
Exactly.
And we move up in the social hierarchy.
Correct. Yeah. Now, if one is to educate them, and this is why I think ThinkBrainWave wants to do $1 a month. That's the whole concept of this.
Yeah.
If we can get it out for $1 a month, governments will pay, or parents can pay out of their airtime, for instance.
Ideally, we would want to get funding from something like a CETA whose whole mandate is around skills development.
Now we can discuss.
So that's I think an avenue. But at the end of the day, making it as affordable as possible gives more people access. And I think what we'll also see now going into the future is this pressure on government, knowing that, you know what, we actually need to start rolling out access to internet for the entire country.
Well, why not? Why don't we do that? You know, government's got so much to do. I mean, we always put so much of a burden on government's hands. There's thousands of people trying to handle 10,000s of problems.
Yeah.
So why don't we take initiative, do it ourselves, and then say to the government, right, this is what we're doing. Would you like to back us?
Yeah, I think that's the important thing. I think that's the role of government. They don't necessarily need to do everything, but because they're receiving our taxes, because use the money to empower everyone.
Correct.
And a platform such as this that gives very cheaper access to the internet is something that's worthwhile.
Yes, but let's go back to CETA moments right here.
All right.
So I spoke to a guy called Maba. I don't want to say obviously his surname, but so he's with Prime Media, 5FM and Talk 702 and all that. Just popped into him a while back, and so he likes what we're talking about here. And I sent him an email yesterday, and I was discussing CETA. So I thought to myself, how could we make this platform free? And then I clicked. So CETA pays for the teachers' salaries. One could simply train and upskill these teachers from CETA. Let's say we take 1,000 of them, right? We place them on the platform. We give them rigorous training. We upskill them to a level that they should be at, you know, where they could teach at a top level, at a super teacher level. And the government covers their fees, and we give free access to underprivileged children nationwide. What we also do is we pay for Wi-Fi and we pay for internet access, whatever it takes. We place it in these areas, call it the Eastern Cape in the Lullies, call it Soshanguve in Pretoria, talking about, let's say, Soweto's already set up as far as I know. Set these places up with a Wi-Fi setup. Don't get someone random to do it. Come to us and say, right, you guys, find the right partners, get it done, and we will make sure that they get paid. Cool. We get it done, we get these teachers on board, we have these kids learning. Now, I think this is a way to tackle this population that can't get educated, because it's all well and good. We'll tackle the 5 to 10 level LSM. Those kids have access to an iPhone, or they have access to a smart device, they have access to Wi-Fi, or they can go to the Wimpy. But a lot of the children that are sitting in environments that are not conducive to learning, because parents often are not comfortable with learning because they're illiterate themselves, those children need to be empowered. Those are the ones that we need to go and say, right, you can have education for free. We'll even educate your parents if you'd like.
Yeah.
Now, that is the kind of impact I would like to have on this planet.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. It's not only going to be the learners that need to learn, it's going to be the adults
100%.
that needs to do it. And what we're currently also seeing is there's so many retired teachers whose expertise is getting lost. So this is an untapped resource. And face it, people are getting older, much older.
They're living for longer.
And outliving their pension. So our retired teachers will need to find a way of subsidizing their income and subsidizing their pension. And a platform such as this gives them the opportunity and gives us access to experienced teachers. They'll need to be upskilled on how to use online platforms. But I mean, none of us grew up knowing how to drive a car. We learned how to drive a car.
I like that analogy.
So if you're 80 years old,
ride a bicycle.
Yeah, if you're 80 or you're 90 years old, that doesn't mean that you need to stop learning.
Why should you?
No, you're going to live till 100, 120. That's another 25 years.
Well, if you look at this, COVID doesn't kill off like 5 to 6% of the population. You'll start seeing people living to 100, 120.
Yeah. And the more healthy we can be now as younger individuals, the greater chance we have to live much longer. Roland, thank you so much for the time that I could spend with you this morning. I'm sure we can speak about this for ages and ages and philosophize. But the important thing is we need practical solutions, and I really think a platform such as ThinkBrainWave is definitely a solution to our challenge.
We need synergy, and that's what we're looking for.
Awesome, Roland. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Francois.